Leave me alone. A stress-free getaway starts with the planning. Joining us this morning to help plan the perfect vacation is Nada Vergili with Nada's Italia.
Yes, Nada's going to tell us the 5 most important questions you should ask before you make any reservations, before you start that trip. It's great to see you, Nada.
It's great to see you too, Colleen and Rob. It's great.
The 5 questions you have to ask, and the first one is, what's the purpose of this trip? That may seem like an obvious question. What's the purpose of this trip? But there's a reason to ask that.
Absolutely. These are very essential questions you want to ask before you make those reservations, like you said. And I've often seen in the years of being in the travel industry, people make some very simple mistakes that can just be avoided with some very simple planning. Okay. So what is the purpose should be your #1 priority. What do you want out of your vacation? Is it R&R? Do you want to just sit back on a beach and relax? Are you into sightseeing? So perhaps some historical landmarks, so more active. Maybe you want some outdoor sports. So, you know, you really have to ask yourself, and not just yourself, but really anybody who's going to travel with you, because everybody may have a different purpose. So you may have people wanting to go on to the same location and have completely different purposes.
Well,
so
that would bring you to your second statement too. I see here, who's going on the trip with you? Who will you be taking?
Exactly. This will actually help you zero in on the types of accommodations that will best fit your group. So are you traveling with family, with kids? Is the purpose to have some fun family time? So you need to look at those accommodations that have perhaps family-friendly activities, swimming pools, and so on. Are you going with a group of elderly folks? So maybe they have some mobility problems. So if you're traveling to a historical city, you want to be near the landmarks so they don't have to take as much public transportation or walk too much. So you really want to focus on these questions to help you, to guide you, find those accommodations later.
Yes, you really do need to think it through. And you kind of touched on this, but another question you say to ask yourself before planning a vacation, what kinds of activities do you like to take part in? Again, you mentioned that. Do you want an active trip, an outdoorsy trip? You want to go hiking? You just want to sit there on a beach? Exactly.
And what type of activities? Once again, you ask everybody who's going to be traveling with you so that you can book those activities before your trip. And make sure, even if you're traveling on a cruise or with a tour or on your own, that you include those activities that you like to do the most. So once again, this really helps you to pull everything together so you don't have any stressful misunderstandings later.
Whenever I go on a vacation, there always seems to be just not enough time. We cram so much stuff in there. So that's one of the questions you got to ask. How much time do you have?
How much time do you have, and what your budget is are 2 questions that really go hand in hand, because you could have a whole month off and not enough budget to do what you want to do. So these things really go well together. And you touch on a very important point, because, you know, I see travel kind of like dining at a buffet. So there's some people that like to go and just put everything on their plate all at once and just stuff as much as possible. But then sometimes you end up not really tasting everything. You know, you can put your appetizer with your dessert and you're making this big mix. And some travelers like to go to the buffet.
Good analogy, I get that.
Again and again, and just take their time and enjoy the different sights. So, but the last thing you want to ask is really, what is your modality of travel? How would you like to explore? How would you like to experience your vacation? Do you prefer to do everything on your own, plan everything, not have a schedule, not have an outlined itinerary, but just kind of go, and then you want to plan everything, you know, rent a car, you have to plan your transportation, do your research ahead of time. Other folks prefer to just sit back, enjoy the ride, and let somebody else do the planning. So perhaps a cruise, perhaps a tour where you get a fixed price ahead of time. You know what your budget is. You know, this is how much I'm going to be spending. You know what you're going to be seeing, and then, you know, you just go and not worry about anything else once you get there. So really ask yourself these questions that may seem so elementary, but unfortunately I've seen people make those mistakes.
Sure, I believe it. If you don't take the time to really plan it through, it can kind of ruin your time off and your vacation.
Absolutely.
And so you really just need to think it through. Nada Vergili, a pleasure as always. Nada's Italy.
Thank you.
You're heading off to Italy sometime soon, aren't
Tomorrow.
you? Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness gracious.
So, arrivederci.
Oh my gosh. Have a
Thank you
wonderful
so
time.
much. I appreciate
Great to see you.
it.